welcome. This is Raph from Adventures in DeFi Kingdom, streaming to you high up at the keep in the hot air balloon. Actually, cancel that. We've moved on to a Zeppelin. Neindorf, how you doing?
Doing well. Welcome, listeners.
Yeah, so today is January 27th, and land is out. How excited are you right now?
I think this is huge. Just seeing the fog of war move back for the first time, it's really starting to give you a feel that the scope of this game is going to have. It's not just this little town in the middle anymore. We're about to see this thing explode.
Yeah, I couldn't be more excited. Obviously, we tried to sneak in an emergency podcast after you went to bed last night. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm
Uh,
I'm really excited about this, and we got a ton to talk about. So first, let's go through some of our basic introductions here. We are going to be doing a giveaway, and this is the opportunity to summon at cost with our Gen Zeros. And so right now we have two Gen Zeros, and so there are going to be two winners for this contest. And each of the first winner will get the first Gen Zero that we purchased, and his number is 1048. And the second winner is going to get 2509, and you're going to have the option and the choice of hiring out another Gen Zero, and we're going to go ahead and give you the offspring at cost. And so that means you only pay for the higher fees and the summoning costs. And so trying to give our listeners the option to get a cost-effective Gen 1 summon ultimately, and hopefully that can help support you guys for helping us achieve this incredible milestone. And so that's 200 subscribers that we have across all of our platforms. So I don't know about you, Neindorf, but I am thrilled that we got here. I can't believe it. Thank you, a big thank you to the community out there.
yeah, it's amazing. It is a little ominous that we hit our milestone on episode 13. I'm just gonna throw that out there, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I think we might have hit this one on 12, and we're just kind of releasing and figuring it out. So I'm hoping to do a live
There you
stream.
go.
Yeah, there's no 13th floor here. Um, I'm hoping to do a live stream, and we'll see if my computer can handle it. And that way we could build up some hype for it as well. So we'll go ahead and put the link to the King Sumo contest here. We're going to put it in the YouTube description, and then also this link is going to live inside our Discord channel. And so please go check us out on Discord. We got a great community that's starting right now. If you love the Always Sunny memes, you're going to come for the podcast and stay for the memes. So please go ahead and check that out. We got some really good discussions going on, and we think that you guys are going to really like it. All right, Neindorf, what's our question of the day?
I mean, there's really only one, right? What's your favorite part of the map? I guess I have a second question. Let's add on to that. Where do you think the bad guy lives, right?
Oh,
Where's the villain from?
that's a great question.
So,
Let's go favorite part of the map first. I'm kind
yeah.
of scrolling down to the bottom left portion of the map. I think if we could somehow get waterfront property, it's 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, and 86. That little island right there with a
Ooh.
sweet lighthouse. And there is a Zeppelin on the island. There's also a crash Zeppelin on the island. So, maybe we should be a little worried about
That'd be
that.
perfect.
But this digital waterfront property, I don't know. There's something exclusive about buying an island that's pretty cool to me. So, at that part of the map, and then a close second, if you look right below it, there's it reminds me of what I would imagine Mount Olympus to look like. That's really cool too. There's a Parthenon there or something, and some kind of statue and waterfall flowing through. That it's just pretty cool. How about you? What's your favorite part?
Oh, so I'm not really sure what my exact favorite part is yet. I haven't really perused it a whole lot. I think there's something going to be really interesting going on with the purple tree in the top left. I think there's going to be some sort of, I don't know, mage, sage, summoner happenings going on up that way.
Love it.
But I'll pick somewhere in the middle, I think, and be a boring Midwestern farmer or the lowly sheep herder.
Just a humble
Remember
sheep
some of the
farmer.
games? Yes. What was that game? What was that board game?
Settlers of Catan.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
there it
just gotta
is.
go collect sheep. Yeah, where the bad guy's gonna live? Well, let's. I'm jumping over to the castle. Of course, there is. It looks like the villain, top left, inside. Once you click into the keep, above where you see the land deeds, um, there's a tail and a couple red eyes there. I think that's certainly a place where the bad guy's gonna be. There have to be some other places on the map too, but I can't figure out where
Right.
that would be. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I would suspect it's still probably behind the fog of war. I think they'll release that as it goes. Well, that's my guess, at least.
All right. Well, let's segue to, really the first and main topic of the night, land. There are 50 plots of land right now, and as you talked about, the fog of war has been rolled back a little ways. I am, really surprised and impressed with how they chose to do this. That you're gonna like see a rendered map where all these plots of land are. And something they did mention it as well is I believe like the smaller plots of land closer to the keep they mentioned would be more potentially more valuable. And so I think it's interesting that they just chose to show everything on the map here like this, and that there's only 100 here as well. So what are your initial thoughts on the 100 plots, and I guess what do you think about potential value and where we're going to see that?
Well, I'm really curious what they mean by the potential value. So, we've talked about this concept of having heroes, or maybe even your personal character, your profile character, if you will, have to travel across the map. So, are they valuable just in the sense that they're easy to get to? Like it's cheap stamina wise. Like I got to assume that it's going to cost stamina to send your heroes across the map, right? So then, if that's the case, maybe those close up properties are only valuable given that they're easy to get to and you can get back and forth to the main center of town easily. Or maybe they'll have souped up rewards. I think we'll have to wait and see. But I suspect initially the main bonus is literally just going to be proximity. Honestly.
That's interesting. I also wonder if there's going to be like the proximity to some of the um, landmarks on the map as well, and if that would create some kind of
Oh,
value for the
absolutely.
quest that might happen there. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. Broken down pirate ship would boost pirates and fishing. The sword or the runes area that looks like it has little bats floating around. That's one of my favorite spots on the map as well. Right between plots 21 and 22 on kind of the
Oh
east
yeah.
side of the map. And so like
Yeah,
maybe
for
I don't know,
sure.
maybe Dark Knights are really powerful there. So I'm hoping also, and of course you've probably seen parts of the map where there's farms or markets or even mines, and so maybe it's more valuable to mine gold and jewel, at one of those plots of land. And so I think there could also be the proximity to special locations and actually the visuals and maybe tie to some kind of thematic element. But I think you're spot on with the stamina piece, and I think that's going to add an element. And one thing that Sandwich talked about last night, we got into this briefly, is that would really start to incentivize people to use the what's it called, the scholarship system for allowing people to use your heroes to send them on quests, because it's going to become increasingly more complex if you're also having to navigate spending your time figuring out where your heroes are, and if you have to click on different parts of the map to gain access to your heroes. I think that's going to be like a unique way that it's going to kind of incentivize people to do the scholarship program, and then maybe reward those who have really high hero wallets out there. Give them an opportunity to earn on those heroes that they just don't get to as often.
Yeah, that's right. And my mind is kind of racing here. Like, how's this going to be? Is it going to take a full bar of 25 stamina to get to, from one plot to the next, or is it gonna, that's what I mean,
Right.
this is, if you zoom out, like, you think of a person or a hero walking this, that's a good bit of distance that they've already released back, and this is only 100 plots.
Yeah.
They're talking about 1,000 plots, right? So
10x's.
I
Yeah.
just imagine there's going to be a lot of stamina burn, and stamina is money right now. So I just cannot wait to see where this goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're going to get into that a little bit later in the episode, and how buying stamina
Yes.
potions or the rare candies, as I've called them. But first, one
Yeah.
some more reckless speculation, as that's our, that's why we've crashed so many zeppelins here on the map. Um, Looking at the hero cards, there's wind, there's mountain, swamp, there's these plains, desert. There's these different kind of region types, and we know Crystal Vale is going to be a little more snow themed and mountain themed. I wonder also if we're going to see in Serendale that different parts of the map they start to adopt some of those themes that are on the hero cards. I think that would be pretty cool if like a desert character, he had higher returns for his quests on a desert plot of land. That'd be pretty neat.
Yeah, and that somewhat of a tangent here, but that always makes me wonder too. What are the new basic classes going to be once they release new rounds? Like, what's missing from the typical RPG genre? I we'll have to cover that another time. That's more than we have time for here, but that's something that I'm super excited for with Avalanche Chain
Right.
too.
So the next topic of conversation that I wanted to jump to, in the announcement, they specifically called out that there are no clickable areas on the map yet. Obviously indicating that there will be clickable areas on the map in the future. Whether, and we're thinking you're going to be able to start to interact with the map, and that's a questing location. So one thing that I want to remind you of is, remember the release of the Wishing Well and how Frisky managed that situation?
Yeah,
Where
how it was somewhat of a if you can find it kind of deal.
exactly. And so I don't know. I'm going to recommend to our listeners, click everywhere. I think there's going to be some hidden gems in the map and some secret clickable areas. And one thing that I would say is, like, the Wishing Well, it did not show up on mobile right away. And so it seems like they've built this game with the desktop version in mind. And so just think about that for our listeners out there. If you're trying to click on hidden locations, you might get a lot more precision with your mouse, and it may not even be accessible on mobile right away, inadvertently, by the dev team. So I think that there's going to be, a secret drop at some point where a quest shows up and it's clickable before the general public it's announced to them.
Yeah, we'll keep our listeners here informed on Discord and in other podcasts if we see anything. Got a pretty good vantage point, I'd say.
Yeah, high above the keep. All right.
That's right.
All right, so chain quests. That I talked about this a bit with Sandwich last night, and I'm really excited about chain quests. I think that they're going to tie it to how to unlock land, where I think that getting the deed is going, not only is there going to be a percentage chance of actually earning the right to get a deed, which would allow you to buy or sell that plot of land. um, yeah, I think that it's going to be, a few quests or a few steps removed, and so you actually are going to have to really work for it. What are your thoughts on chain quests being released, and do you think that's going to be integrated into kind of trying to go capture lands?
Oh, I think most definitely. And I think what I'm waiting to find out personally is, I think we got pretty lucky. We got in pretty early. We each have a fairly good, army of heroes here. But I'm curious if they're going to balance this ability to capture the right to purchase land, I believe is how they'd phrased it, in a way that, an entry level player with just one hero, say, is able to maybe it is all RNG. Can he just get that right random roll and win that chance to buy land? And the other thing that we need to remember too, and I think this is going to be huge too, is if you say it is a chain quest and you actually get through those phases and you win that right to buy the land. I know they'd said that they also wanted, for people who don't have a lot of jewel available, they wanted to make sure that you own that right then, and you can sell that right to buy the land. So
Right,
is
right.
it? I think they're going to make it. A lot of it has to be random based if they really want to, but they got to balance that with, we want you to play in order to earn. So on one hand, you want to help new people be able to get deep into the game, but on the other hand, you want to reward people who are playing. So I think there's that warring idea here, and I trust the devs to do a good job of it, but I'm really curious to see what mechanisms they put in place in order to have that happen.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm excited as well. I think you're spot on that. The devs have usually put a lot of thought into this, and they're going to try to be balancing all those unique elements. They certainly have a spot in the game for entry level players, and they're also, they've always rewarded people who are really invested in the game, and are playing it as well. I think it's that kind of pair. Is it's not just that you're a whale and you have a ton of dollars in the bank. You're also playing the game. They've made that fundamentally clear. And so that's the next,
Yeah,
and
that's
to
right.
me, most important piece of the announcement is that they've just come out and said that it's the most powerful heroes will have the opportunity to get the land. And so, what does most powerful heroes mean to you?
It has to be. I think there's two. It's probably kind of like a matrix, in my opinion. On one hand, you have, your basic to transcendent classes, right?
Mhm.
And then on the other hand, I think you have levels and rarity. And I'm not sure. Maybe it's a three-dimensional array, right? Where these are, as an engineer, these are the things I think of, right? And so I think it's going to be that dimensional system where, we had seen a chart, and we were talking about this earlier before we got on air here. There's a chart where it basically shows that a common, what was it? A common dread knight
A
is
common
equal
Dread Knight,
to.
yep, their stats are
Go
equivalent
ahead, I
to,
forget the
yeah,
details.
a common Dread Knight stats and their total stats that they have on their card and the growth of their stats are going to be approximately equivalent to a mythic basic hero type. And so, and it kind of
Wow, yeah,
scales almost kind of linearly as you go from basic to advanced to elite to then the ultimate class, and also as the rarity scales as well. And so then that means a
right,
legendary advanced is about approximately equivalent to a basic mythic, and so on and so forth. And so then that means a rare elite class is equal to a legendary advanced class. And so I think you're right that it's going to be some kind of balance of levels and probably the stats that are on your hero card. I've thought for a while that
well, and maybe that's it.
go ahead. Yeah.
Maybe it only comes down to stat points, honestly, because you'll achieve those either with higher rarity or with more levels. And so then you could kind of say, maybe you got a lucky roll and you got an awesome um, common Dread Knight, right? You have that awesome card, and it's got the really good starting stats, and maybe you only need to be level 2 in order to have enough stats. Versus if you
Right.
were, say, a basic monk, maybe you actually might have to be level 7 by the time you get enough endurance or strength, say, or whatever the specifics are of the quest. So yeah, I think the quests are probably going to boil down after talking here with you now. It's probably going to boil down to just pure stats, honestly.
That's definitely the most simple way to do it. And I could see like different parts of the map or different pieces of land challenging, different stat types. And so there might be some plots of land where
Yeah,
it's just total stats. Other plots of land, maybe the one by the pirate ship is, luck and agility because that's fishing.
right.
Maybe the forest is foraging, and so I think that's something to think about as you're kind of clicking about the map frantically. Is maybe there's even some kind of pairing to the hero that you have, and try to think about optimizing that.
That's true. We can't forget about professions and all of this too. They've mentioned, I feel like at some point that professions are going to play an additional possible role here and there.
Hmm. Right, right. All right, so with that, let's go to leveling up, and I believe I saw on Twitter today that a couple heroes are already to level 10, which I take this with a grain of salt. I have not gone and dug into the data. I believe it that there are insane people out there that are just sending their heroes out to quest every waking moment of the day. Um, but we're now looking at trying to level up our guys. What are your thoughts on leveling up right now?
Well, I'm going to give you a little insight that I've kind of perused from the development or the dev Discord channel here. So, from what I understand, there has been for several weeks now an exploit if you write your own code and you go outside of the GUI of the game, where there was some sort of stamina exploit where you could send heroes out to quest again if they had no stamina. And so the development team, I heard Frisky, I think he even came in, and Bolon came into the chat, and they're even commenting on it. They know who the people are who have used that because you can see it on chain. So I think some of the people who have gotten to these crazy levels have done it effectively through cheating. And I think you're going to see these people be disqualified from some of these drops that we're talking about. So I think we need to, I personally will keep a close eye on this, and I'll tell you guys in our podcast what I'll find out. But basically what I'm hearing now is that they're trying to get that loophole closed, and I don't know if they did in this last drop or not. I feel like I saw a note maybe about it, but that was something that people who have the ability to go interact with the contracts directly had been taking advantage of. So that's something else too. Now all the rest of us who are out there just you know queuing up our heroes like we're supposed to be, I think we're in a pretty decent spot with ours. We're at that 5 mark. I think that's slightly above average, but yeah, I think if you want to be in that top tier, you need to be at 6, maybe 6.5 right now.
Yeah, I think they could not be more subtly and overtly telling us in all of their different ways, go level up your heroes. Whether
That's
it's
right.
the Crystal Veil drop that's going to happen for, I think they're giving out 5 shiny Crystal Veil Gen Zeros for the highest level heroes or the highest level wallet holders of those heroes. Um, and telling us that land is getting released to the most powerful heroes, and Frisky having said in AMAs in the past, like, you got to play the game, you got to level heroes. And now I think that there's also going to be some secret airdrops for levels of heroes as well. So I mean, in so many ways they're shouting to us, level up your heroes, go play the game. And so that's what we're trying to do right now. How many level 5s do you have?
I think I'm still at 2 at the moment. I've got a like one, two, three. I got about 6 or 7 at level 4 that are. I'm afraid they're all gonna hit at the same time, and then I'm gonna be absolutely rune strapped here. But you know how that goes. They
Yeah.
come in waves, it seems like.
Yeah, I only have one. I got my rare sage up to level 5 today. He's a fisher, so obviously,
Oh, that's
power
awesome.
leveling, with stamina potions. Let's just kind of take our listeners kind of through that. It works best when you have a fishing or a foraging profession, um, because you can gain that boost, that alignment. With one stamina potion, you get 25 stamina, and you can send your hero out for you know 5 quest ticks on either fishing or foraging, and those obviously take a lot less time than being in the gardens or being in the mines.
Yeah, that's a good point. I until today I'd never even really considered that. I guess I just crafted my first potion today. I haven't even used it yet. Um, but I was it makes perfect sense. Yeah, if it takes what 4+ hours to burn down a gardener or a miner, you're either setting an alarm for the middle of the night, to wake up and do another round, or you're not power leveling. So I think you're right. That's a good point. It'll be the foragers and fishers that are going to be power leveling. Well, and plus those quests were released a lot earlier,
Right.
so some of these earlier heroes with those off professions are behind in terms of experience already for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and my mythic is a gardener. Um, and so I'm still trying to save a few stamina potions for him, and but it's not quite as fast. I mean, you're obviously saving on the regen time, but you still have the time to go out and perform the quest.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So anything else on leveling up that we wanted to get through? Oh yeah, you wanted to talk a little bit about is it worth it to level non-Gen Zero? What rarities are worth it to level up? Do you want to go into that, or do you feel like we covered that when we
I
talked
mean, we
about?
could go a little bit more here. I think it's, I was kind of asking myself that question because, I'm sitting at, I don't know, 19 heroes, I think, at the moment. And like I said, I haven't leveled anybody up for a day or two here now because of how they stack. But once they start hitting, am I going to hit an uncommon, say, basic class? Am I going to even level him up past, say, level 3 or 4 or 5 when it comes to that? Because the costs are starting to grow. And, we don't really know what the second tier of runes are going to cost yet, but you got to imagine it'll be, maybe not quite an order of magnitude more, but I bet it's not too far off either. So it's kind of one of those games where I think the rarity comboed with the advancement of the class is going to be a big decision,
Hmm.
for all the hero owners out there on where do you draw that line on who can I afford to keep leveling up. I mean, eventually you run out of items in game, right? You only earn so much with questing, and maybe as the advanced quests come out, you earn more, and you're able to back roll that into your heroes. But right now, at least, it seems like it's hard to keep up unless you have a lot of locked jewel you're unlocking.
Hmm. Yeah, and we've been talking about jackpots as well, and I don't know. I swear they've
I
slowed
think they
down.
disappeared.
Yeah, I
I've
haven't
gotten
seen one
two
in
ever.
days.
I've
Yeah.
only gotten two. I don't think they happen anymore. I don't know.
You're too late to the party. Um,
I am.
well, yeah, what I would say is, great conversation, and we had some really smart people in our Discord. Come join us in our Discord channel. We're going to drop it in both the podcast notes on Anchor and on YouTube. So let's talk about that. I'm really curious to get our community's feedback on leveling heroes, and how it scales with the game, and if it's going to be worthwhile to level up your all of them, and how costly would that be, or are you only leveling up heroes that you want to keep and or flip? There's just so many pieces that play into this equation.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, so next let's talk a little bit about, I mean, it's still kind of on the theme of leveling in Gen Zeros. And so, we're leveling up Gen Zeros, and then also we wanted to talk through for our listeners to check out. We have for paid subscribers right now, we have the alert system, and for everyone, we're also offering kind of it's well go ahead and describe what you've developed again, maybe for those who haven't heard of it, or want to get into this for the first time.
Yeah, so there's also those abilities to look at your heroes and look at some of the genetic data, the recessive and dominant traits, and some of these skills that have no usage yet in the game and don't even show up on the hero card. So, you and I have kind of worked offline a little bit, and we just by a chance realized, that the two Gen Zeros we'd purchased before we knew any of this, have the capability of mutating their active 2 skill into an advanced 1. Again, a lot of numbers, right? But so basically that's really cool because now we can produce 10 out of 10 Gen 1s that have a chance for having an advanced skill.
And an advanced class.
Exactly. And if that happens to both strike at the same time, I mean, that just adds additional value to heroes that get summoned. Part of my scheming here is that now I was like, we need to go look at all the other Gen Zero quest owners and find another Gen Zero owner or Gen Zero owner with multiple Gen Zeros and see who out there has 2 that can produce advanced 2 active 2 skills. Because that's where then you start to, can you work out a partnership? My gears are turning here, of course. Because then once you summon with advanced 1 and advanced 2, you get a chance to have an elite. And I think we're seeing, for all those of you who've signed up for our alerts and you've been putting in alerts for either elite or transcendent skills, I think it's safe to say the word is out. What do you think?
Yeah, the word's out. Transcendent went for sale for like 350 jewel. And, with that said, the word is out, but also at the same time, the supply is so low. And so this is a massive opportunity for our listeners out there right now. This is this part of the app is totally free. And so if you want to do the data mining yourself, look when you're summoning at, how many potential advanced or, next level skills could mutate. Because that's really what we're showing with this is, highlighting possible mutations. And so I think that there's going to be an incredible value, if you get an elite, a sage or dragoon that has advanced or elite skills, maybe 1, maybe even 2 skills, the value of those heroes is going to skyrocket. I mean, like you said, the word is out. People now know that they have higher value than all the other regular heroes that we've been summoning for a while. And so I think for those of you who are playing this for profit opportunities, this is that next frontier. And so figuring out how to get to elite skills and above on potentially, I think even an advanced class with an elite skill would be really powerful.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. And now that we know this, it still is somewhat painful to track it, like we've said. And I believe that we'll see in an update from the devs in not too distant future where some of this information is going to start showing up on your hero card, or at least on a click, or a mouse over or something where you're going to be able to start to see this. Because it's going to play a role in combat 100%. At this point, I think we can say that. Yeah, wild speculation, of course. But, if you can't show that, you got to also remember, too, that it's probably not priced into the market 100% yet. So there are people who know it. And just, again, listeners, keep your eye out. And if you see it, purchase it.
Yeah, and also, like, if you get one and you're looking to sell it, be patient, because the people may not be totally buying, even though there are certainly other sellers that are pricing it at those higher levels. There might not be a ton of buyers yet. Well, why don't you go to
That's right.
Here I have pulled up Hero 97032. This is someone that you use the system for. Walk us through what your thought process was and ultimately what you ended up getting. Looks like we're looking at Active 2 Advanced 1, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so this, and that was actually kind of by luck, what kind of led me to realize that our heroes were capable of producing this. Because this was my last turn, my second round of summonings. this was before their APIv6 went out in beta, and I was trying to summon. I wanted to rent two different heroes, to make two new heroes, but I just could not, for the life of me, get any to work. Like they were all, you know, this hero has been summoned with, or the timeout, those sorts of errors. So I'm like, you know what? All right, fine. I'm just gonna put the two together. And I at first sight I was like, oh, I got an uncommon priest from a monk and a pirate. I was like, okay, well, all right, that's fine. And then it was a gardener, so I'm like, okay, a priest
All right.
gardener, I can use that. And then like 3 or 4 days later, when
Vitality
the
boost as well. That's good.
yeah, so 3 or 4 days later, when the hero data finally comes out, because the graph APIs were so far behind, I click on it and I'm like, oh, sweet, advanced one. I'm like, wait a minute, that means it must have mutated, and that's kind of when I went back to the drawing board and realized that, oh
Nice.
yeah, R2 are capable, and I believe that's about the time I implemented that page because I was like, I need to see this more easily, and it needs to be more readily available to people who are going to summon.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, that's such a good story, and again, this is a feature right now that we're offering to everyone out there. So put in the time and effort, and it's I mean, really, it's your money when it comes to summoning, and so you might as well try to maximize that value and go after everything you can.
You bet, I couldn't agree more.
All right. Well, anything else that you want to talk through on uh, the app page or on Gen Zero level ups?
I would say as far as the website goes and the alerts go, I'm constantly looking to improve little details here and there. I've gotten some good feedback from some of our users, and as time allows, I'll try to roll some of those in. Um, and there's definitely more improvements I can make. There are times when I'm still relatively new to this whole scraping the blockchain for events and stuff. So there will be times when it'll kind of stall out and I'll have to go in and reboot it. So bear with me. We're kind of going through little growing pains here, but it's definitely been a fun learning opportunity for me. This is kind of something I've been wanting to get into for about a year. So yeah, keep the suggestions coming, and I'll try to keep you guys informed on what gets released here on our podcast.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And we are, as a quick reminder to everyone, we are limited to 10 alerts per email address right now. Um, that's a bit of a soft stop for us at the moment, as we're working through, how do we continue to develop this. And I don't know if I've ever been more proud when I've now figured out how many degenerates we have inside of our Discord channel that are saying that
Oh,
that's not enough. And truly, I'm thankful for these awesome supporters out there. I think we have a couple of people who actually signed up for two different emails, and supported the podcast twice. So
oh, that's hilarious.
yeah, yeah.
I love it.
Secret trick to feeding your your hiring or buying addiction with heroes in the tavern. So ultimately, thank you to you, Nindor, for developing this, and a giant thank you to our community, and those of you who are on Discord. You guys are making this a lot of fun. So keep it up, and I guess that's all from us. Again, we're looking at transitioning from the hot air balloon to a zeppelin. Hopefully, one of the zeppelins that are airborne. And we couldn't be more excited for land to be out. So thank you, listeners, and take care.
You bet. Have a good one.